Let's ask Sriram Rathi. He's the India analyst who tracks the pharma and healthcare space at BNP Paribas. So let's welcome him to the channel. Sriram, thanks a lot for joining in. First, overall on the sector, right, I wanted your thoughts. I mean, there is a lot of buzz that's taking place across segments, as Ekta was also pointing out. Where do your preferences lie for the long-term investor now?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. In our preference list, we prefer companies with largely India pharma business, focus on that segment. And at the same time, we like diagnostics more than hospitals now. Though we have positive view on all these three segments, the pecking order will be India pharma, diagnostics, and then hospitals. And US generics remains a tactical play. Structurally, we are not very positive on that segment, but tactically, in the near term, we may see positive surprises out there.
Right. As far as the M&A space is concerned, are you seeing any sort of need for consolidation in the diagnostics space? And if that was to happen, how would you play this area?
So diagnostics, M&As may happen out there. We have seen a couple of large deals in the last 12 to 18 months. So that is mainly to fill up the geography gap largely. But otherwise, it's more of an organic growth story, and we prefer Dr. Lal more out here, though we have positive rating on Dr. Lal as well as Metropolis. And we believe that the companies which are able to grow organic growth on consistent basis, so we will prefer that company more.
Okay. Sriram, what is your view on the Manipal Temasek deal and what the read-through could be for the entire hospital space and for companies such as Apollo?
Yeah, so the deal, of course, is one of the largest deal in the healthcare hospital space, valuing the company at 10 times sales. That looks very high, clearly. But of course, it was for a majority stake, so that could have been possible. And read through in terms of, I don't think any valuation to accelerate for the sector as such because of that deal, because it's more of the growth and occupancy which will determine the valuations going forward. And currently, if you look at last 3 quarters have been quite good for hospital companies, largely driven by improvement in the revenue mix, and that we believe would have been on account of elective surgeries, which will gradually taper off. So structurally, we are positive on the space, though in the near term, we may see some pressure on the occupancy as well as on the revenue growth.
So on names like, in the diagnostic space, you said that, your pecking orders, first you like the India pharma business, then diagnostics, and then hospitals. So within diagnostics, do you think the worst of the pricing pressures behind, worst of the competitive intensity, and what kind of recovery? Do you think names like Metropolis, etc., could get back to their highs that they saw perhaps a year or two ago?
Yeah, so we are definitely seeing that the competitive intensity and pricing pressure is behind us now. We have seen that the new online players have been increasing the prices over the last few months. That clearly shows signs of basically pricing pressure bottoming out clearly. And from here on, we expect that there will be marginal increase in the prices by diagnostic companies with the large organized chains like Dr. Lal and Metropolis. So clearly, this is an inflection point for the sector, and we should start seeing performance improving in terms of growth to double-digit revenue growth, and that will lead to the valuation relating back.
Okay, all right. Sriram, that's on the diagnostic space, but one stock which stood out yesterday was Divi's Labs. The export data is something that the street has started following closely just in the past couple of months for the likes of Loris, Divi's, Gland, all of the others. How closely or how relevant is that export data to determine how exactly Divi's is going to do in the quarter? And secondly, what is your view on Divi's?
Yeah, so of course, we don't have access to export data, but whatever we saw on our channel, it looks like, clearly Q4 numbers look very high. Generally what happens like March month is always better for API focused companies because that is the month when most of the sales are being booked for the quarter. But if I look at those data and look from the YUI perspective, so it's not very far from what the street is expecting. It may be marginally higher. So our view on Divi's is positive, but at current price, the upside is very limited. So probably we'll look out for a better price to enter into the stock.
Right. And as far as pharma itself is concerned, what are your thoughts? Are you looking at domestic focused pharma or some of these export names? Because up until, now a lot of people were focusing on domestic itself, citing the opportunities here. But the decline that we've seen in a lot of these export names and, like how Divi's did well yesterday, citing some sort of improvement there. Do export focused pharmaceutical companies also come on your radar now?
Yeah, so domestic is something which is a structural play from the long-term perspective that we always prefer. US, as I said, is more of a technical play in terms of export business. And currently, what we are talking about, what we are hearing is that basically pricing scenario in US is stabilizing to some extent. And so the companies which have a decent product portfolio and have clear FDA status will be more preferred. So from that perspective, if you look at companies like Aurobindo Pharma or Dr. Reddy's are better placed from that perspective.
Okay, all right. Sriram, we leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining in and speaking to us on CNBC TV 18. By the way, I just want to mention that Infosys is really taking it on the chin now. The numbers come out later in the evening at about 5 p.m. or so. The stock is now down 3%. So after the weakness that we saw in TCS's numbers and the weak management commentary, Infosys is the one now that's taking a knock. Let's slip into a quick break. On the other side, TCS, Infosys, the entire IT pack will be in focus, so don't go anywhere.